On the rocky red plains of the mining planet Varlon, the wind carried dust like tiny sparks in the sunlight. The planet was known for its rare minerals, but it was also dangerous. Human miners visited from distant colonies, but few stayed long. The locals were a peaceful alien species, known for their glowing markings and quiet villages. Rian, a human transporter, had spent several years moving cargo across the planets. He was strong, careful, and had a good heart, though life had made him wary. That morning, he had been hired to deliver mining equipment to a small settlement on the far side of Varlon. The road was long and the air shimmered with heat. As Ryan guided his vehicle along a narrow canyon, he noticed a small figure struggling in the distance. The figure was running, and behind her a group of armed traders chased with ropes and devices that glowed ominously. Curiosity turned quickly into concern. Ryan slowed his vehicle and watched. The girl was clearly in trouble. Her glowing blue markings flickered like tiny flames as she ran, her small frame making it difficult to escape the stronger, taller hunters. She was fast, but the traders were faster, and one of them threw a rope that snagged her shoulder. She stumbled. Without thinking twice, Ryan gripped the controls tightly and drove toward the scene. He stopped his vehicle behind a pile of rocks, far enough to avoid being noticed but close enough to see clearly. The traders had caught the girl now and were pulling her toward a hovering slave ship. Her cries echoed across the canyon, piercing the quiet air. Rian's hands tightened around a metal rod he carried. He had no weapons, no official authority, but he could not watch this happen. His mind raced. He needed a plan fast. The girl struggled fiercely. Her eyes glimmered with defiance. She twisted her body, managing to free one arm for a moment, but the traders grabbed her again. One of them raised a device that could immobilize a person in seconds. Ryan's heart pounded. Then he saw his chance. The ship's ramp had lowered slightly to collect the girl. The traders were focused on controlling her. Ryan ran from his hiding spot, ducking behind boulders, and charged at the ramp. One trader noticed him and shouted, but it was too late. Ryan threw himself forward, slamming into the trader and knocking him off balance. The girl looked at him, fear and hope flashing in her glowing eyes. "Help me!" she cried. Ryan didn't answer. He grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the canyon floor. Together they ran over uneven rocks. The traders shouted and fired small stun devices, but Ryan and the girl kept moving. She was surprisingly strong for her size, pushing herself through the pain and fear. They reached a narrow passage between cliffs, where the trader's ship could not follow. Ryan guided her through, careful not to let her fall. Her name, he learned quickly, was Mira. She whispered it as they ran. Her voice was soft but firm, a sound that stuck in Ryan's mind. Hours passed as they navigated the canyon. The sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Mira's energy was fading, but she refused to give up. Ryan offered her water and a small snack he had brought from his supplies. She accepted with a quiet nod, her glowing markings dimming slightly as exhaustion took hold. Finally, they reached a hidden cave that Ryan knew well. He had discovered it during his deliveries and kept it as a safe spot in case of emergencies. Mira collapsed against the wall, breathing heavily, and Ryan sat beside her, keeping watch. "Are they still following?" she asked, her voice trembling. "They will try, but they won't catch us here," Ryan said. He did not smile. "You're safe, at least for now." Mira looked at him with wide eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "If you had not come, Her voice broke. She did not finish the sentence, but Ryan understood. She owed him her life. Ryan shook his head. "I didn't do it for thanks. I did it because it was right." Night fell, and the canyon became silent except for the distant hum of the trader's ship as it circled, searching. Mira slept fitfully on a blanket Ryan spread, her body tense, ready to run if needed. Ryan stayed awake, keeping watch, thinking about how fragile life was and how easily it could be taken away. The next morning, Ryan knew they had to move. The traders would not give up so easily. He had contacts in a nearby human settlement where Mira could be safe for a while. They had to reach it quickly before the ship found them again. As they traveled, Mira told Ryan about her life. She came from a village known for its scholars and healers. Her family had been captured during a raid by slave traders who wanted the knowledge her people possessed. Mira's voice was calm, but Ryan could sense the pain behind it. She had lost everything in one cruel act. "You are brave," she said quietly. "Most humans would have ignored us." Ryan looked at her, trying not to feel the weight of his own emotions. "I'm not brave. I just know what it is to see someone suffer and do nothing. I couldn't watch you get taken." They traveled for days through rocky hills, narrow paths, and dangerous cliffs. Ryan guided Mira carefully, always looking for signs of pursuit. At one point, they had to cross a dry riverbed where the traders might set traps. Mira hesitated, but Ryan took her hand. "Together," he said. "We can do this together." Mira nodded, gripping his hand tightly. She had grown stronger, faster, but her trust in Ryan made her feel safe. They crossed the riverbed without incident, but the tension never left the air. Finally, after a long journey, they reached the human settlement. It was small, built into the side of a hill with metal walls and solar panels glinting in the sunlight. Humans and a few friendly aliens lived here, and they welcomed Rian and Mira with cautious smiles. Rian introduced Mira to the settlement leader, an older human named Hera, who agreed to hide her until it was safe to leave Varlan. Mira was given a small room and food, and she finally allowed herself to rest fully, feeling safe for the first time in weeks. That night, Rian sat outside, looking at the stars. Mira's glowing markings had dimmed from exhaustion, but he knew they would shine again. He thought about the future and how fragile it could be. He made a silent promise to protect her no matter what came. Mira had been just a girl when he saved her, but even in that moment Ryan sensed her strength. She had survived what no one should have endured, and she had done it with courage. He knew that she would grow into someone remarkable. The traders would not forget their loss. Ryan knew they might come back stronger and more dangerous. But for now, Mira was safe, and that was enough. He would teach her to survive, to be smart, and maybe one day to fight back. For Mira, the fear began to fade. She had a protector, a friend, and hope. And she would remember Ryan's courage all her life, a light in the darkness of her early years. Rian watched her sleep, thinking that small acts of bravery could change the course of a life, even the course of a world. And on that quiet night, under the glowing Varlan stars, a bond was formed. A bond that would endure, shape destiny, and one day change everything. The settlement on Varlan was small, but it had everything Rian and Mira needed to stay safe. Humans and a few alien species lived there, working together to survive in the harsh environment. There were solar panels on rooftops, small gardens that provided food, and workshops filled with machines that hummed softly. Mira adjusted quickly. She was smart and curious, always asking questions and learning fast. Ryan taught her basic human customs, how to read maps and how to handle tools safely. She was eager, her mind absorbing everything like a sponge. The first weeks were peaceful. Mira explored the settlement cautiously, sometimes hiding in quiet corners to watch people work. She learned the human way of life, their routines, and how they solved problems together. Ryan watched her with pride. She had grown from a frightened girl into a thoughtful, careful young person. But her bravery still shone through. One evening, Ryan and Mira sat on the settlement's roof, looking at Varlan's glowing sky. The planet had 2 moons, and their light reflected on the red dust like silver on fire. Mira asked about the galaxy and the other human colonies. Humans travel far and wide, Rian explained. Some go to distant planets to trade, explore, or mine. We try to help those who cannot defend themselves. Mira listened carefully. "You saved me," she said softly. "I want to be like you. I want to help people, not just survive." Ryan smiled. "It takes courage to help others, Mira, but it also takes knowledge. You will need both." As time passed, Mira learned more than Ryan had expected. She picked up human language quickly, and her understanding of technology grew. She studied machines in the workshop, helping fix small equipment. People in the settlement noticed her intelligence and kindness. They began to trust her, even though she was an alien. Mira also learned about her own people. Ryan told her stories of her village, the traditions and the wisdom that her family had passed down. She remembered her parents and the home she had lost, feeling sadness and determination together. She wanted to make a difference not only for herself but for her people. The settlement faced challenges too. Supplies were limited, and sometimes small groups of bandits tried to take food or equipment. Mira watched Rian handle these situations with calm and careful thinking. She learned that bravery was not just fighting. It was planning, protecting, and helping everyone stay safe. One day, a messenger arrived from a nearby human colony. He brought news that the slave traders who had attacked Varlan were gaining power in other regions. They were capturing more alien communities, forcing them to work for them. Mira felt a chill. She remembered her village, the fear and the chaos. Her determination grew stronger. "We cannot let this continue," she told Rian. "Other people will suffer like my village did." Ryan nodded. "You are wise, Mira, but you are still young. You must learn first, grow stronger, and understand the galaxy before you face such challenges." Mira listened, but she could feel her purpose forming. She wanted to help, to protect, and to learn how to change things for the better. She spent her days helping in the workshops, learning communication skills and observing human leaders. Every night she asked Rian questions about courage, leadership, and justice. The settlement's people began to see her as more than a guest. She helped resolve small disputes, encouraged others to work together, and inspired hope. Mira's presence reminded them that even in a harsh place, kindness and intelligence could make life better. Rian also taught Mira about self-defense. They practiced climbing, running through rocky terrain, and basic combat techniques to stay safe. Mira was quick and agile, learning to anticipate danger before it appeared. She loved the training, not because she wanted to fight, but because it gave her confidence. During these years, Mira also formed friendships with other young humans and aliens in the settlement. They explored nearby canyons, collected herbs for medicine, and shared stories of their homes. Mira's laughter became familiar in the settlement, a sign of life returning to her after years of fear. Ryan often reminded Mira about responsibility. "Strength alone is not enough," he said. "Wisdom, patience, and courage are what make a person truly powerful." Mira thought about this as she studied maps of Varlon, noting areas that could be dangerous, safe spots, and paths that traders might use. She began imagining strategies to protect not only herself but others. Her mind was always active, always thinking, even when she appeared calm. One quiet evening, while Mira and Ryan repaired some equipment, a human trader arrived with news from the galaxy. He spoke of new colonies, the spread of slave traders, and the danger facing peaceful alien communities. Mira listened intently, her glowing markings reflecting the firelight. She realized the galaxy was not as safe as she had thought. "We must be ready," Mira said quietly. "Not just for me, but for everyone who cannot defend themselves." Ryan looked at her with a mix of pride and concern. "You are growing fast, Mira, faster than I expected. One day you may face choices that will change many lives." Mira nodded, feeling both excitement and weight on her shoulders. She knew that the time would come when she would have to act, but for now she focused on learning, growing, and preparing. She wanted to be ready. Years passed. Mira grew taller, stronger, and wiser. Her knowledge of human technology and Varlin's terrain became impressive. She could repair machines, navigate difficult landscapes, and understand human and alien culture alike. She was no longer the frightened girl Ryan had rescued. She was a young woman with intelligence, courage, and purpose. The settlement continued its life peacefully, but Mira never forgot her past. She often thought of her village, the traders, and the life she had lost. Her memories became motivation. She wanted to help others avoid the suffering she had experienced. Rian watched her grow with pride. She reminded him of why he had chosen to help her in the first place. A small act of courage had saved a life, and that life was now blossoming into someone extraordinary. Mira also learned the value of alliances. She observed how humans and aliens could work together, solving problems that no single species could manage alone. She understood that unity and trust were powerful tools. These lessons would guide her in the years to come. On quiet nights, Mira and Ryan often sat under the stars, talking about the future. Mira shared her ideas about helping her people and other alien communities. Ryan advised patience, caution, and careful planning. "You have the heart of a leader," Ryan said one night. "But a leader must also know when to wait and when to act. Knowledge and timing are as important as courage." Mira listened, absorbing every word. She wanted to honor Rian's guidance, and she wanted to honor the people she had lost. Her heart burned with determination. She promised herself that she would return to her world one day and make it a better place. Meanwhile, the galaxy was changing. The slave traders' influence was spreading, and peaceful worlds were at risk. Mira knew she would have to prepare not just with strength but with intelligence, wisdom, and alliances. Through her training, her studies, and her experiences, Mira became ready for the challenges that awaited. She understood danger, strategy, and the value of trust. She was no longer just a survivor. She was a protector, a thinker, and a future leader. Rian often reminded her of the lessons she had learned: courage, kindness, and the importance of helping others. Mira carried these lessons in her heart, determined to use them wisely. The years on the settlement shaped Mira into someone who could face the galaxy with confidence. She knew the time would come when she would have to confront the traitors and restore freedom to her people. Until that time, she would learn, grow, and prepare. And through it all, Mira never forgot the human who had saved her life. Ryan had shown her that one act of bravery could change everything. She hoped that one day she could repay him, not just for saving her, but by making the galaxy a better, safer place for all. The settlement continued its quiet life, with Mira now an integral part of its community. She was respected, trusted, and admired, yet she always kept her purpose in mind, to help her people and to fight injustice when the time was right. In this small, peaceful colony, Mira found not only safety but also a place to grow into someone extraordinary. The girl who had once been captured by traitors had become a young woman ready to face the galaxy, and when the day came, she would return to her people stronger, wiser, and prepared to lead. 20 years had passed since Ryan had rescued Mira from the slave traders. The small settlement on Varlon had become a peaceful home for humans and friendly aliens, and Mira had grown into a confident young woman. Her glowing markings were brighter than ever, reflecting her inner strength and intelligence. She was respected and admired by everyone in the settlement, but her heart always remembered her lost home. One morning, a message arrived from the distant network of colonies. It was urgent. The alien council on Mira's home planet, her village, had fallen. A corrupt regime had taken control, supported by the very slave traders who had once captured Mira. Her people were enslaved again, forced to work under harsh rules, and their wisdom was being stolen. Mira read the message with wide eyes. Her heart beat fast. Memories of her childhood, her family, and the fear she had felt all rushed back. But this time she was not helpless. She had learned, trained, and grown. She could not ignore the suffering of her people. She ran to Ryan, who was repairing a hover vehicle in the workshop. "Ryan," she said urgently, holding the message, "something has happened to my people. They need help. I have to go." Ryan's eyes darkened with concern as he read the report. He had feared this day would come, but it had arrived faster than he expected. "Mira," he said carefully, "you have grown strong and wise, but this is dangerous. The traitors are ruthless, and the corrupt leaders will not welcome anyone who opposes them." Mira nodded firmly. "I know, but I cannot stay here while my people suffer. You saved me once. I cannot turn away from those who cannot protect themselves. I need to return to Varlon and help them." Ryan sighed, seeing the determination in her eyes. He had raised her, trained her, and watched her grow. Now she was ready to face her destiny. "Very well," he said. "I will help you prepare. You will not face this alone." Over the next few days, Ryan and Mira prepared for the journey. He equipped her with a starship of human design, small but fast, and filled it with supplies, tools, and communication devices. Mira carefully studied maps of her home planet and the surrounding regions. She reviewed the locations of villages, the patterns of the slave traders, and possible escape routes. Mira's training over the years had made her skilled in survival, technology, and leadership. She knew how to plan, how to navigate dangerous areas, and how to inspire trust in others. She spent hours practicing with Ryan, simulating different situations she might face on her home world. She learned to anticipate danger and think several steps ahead. Finally, the day came for her to leave. The settlement gathered to say goodbye. Friends she had grown up with hugged her, wishing her luck. Humans and aliens alike respected her courage and intelligence. She was no longer just a guest or student. She was a leader ready to face her people's plight. Ryan stood by her ship, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Remember, Mira," he said, "courage is important, but so is patience. Think before you act. Observe before you speak. And never forget the people who helped you become who you are today." Mira nodded, tears in her eyes but determination in her heart. "I will make you proud, Ryan. I will save my people and honor the life you saved for me." As the ship lifted off, Mira looked back at the settlement one last time. She felt both sadness and hope. Sadness for leaving the place that had been her safe home, and hope for the chance to bring freedom back to her people. The stars stretched out before her, vast and endless, filled with danger and opportunity. During the journey, Mira reviewed everything she had learned. She thought about the slave traders and their tactics. They relied on fear, intimidation, and control. But Mira had something they lacked: intelligence, courage, and the trust of those she wanted to help. She knew that to succeed, she would need allies, strategy, and careful planning. After days of travel, Mira's ship approached her home planet. From above, she could see the changes that had occurred in her absence. Cities that had once been bright and lively were now dark and controlled. Fields that had provided food were neglected or destroyed. Smoke rose from several areas, evidence of conflict and oppression. Her heart ached, but she did not hesitate. Mira landed on the outskirts of her home region, avoiding major checkpoints. She moved carefully through the villages, observing the situation firsthand. She saw her people working under strict supervision, their glowing markings dimmed by exhaustion and fear. The corrupt leaders were everywhere, enforcing rules and ensuring that the traitors' control remained strong. Mira knew she could not confront them directly. A frontal attack would be dangerous and could endanger her people. Instead, she decided to work quietly, using her intelligence and planning to inspire hope and resistance. She would need to gain the trust of the villagers, learn their needs, and find ways to restore their freedom without causing unnecessary harm. The first night, Mira approached a small group of villagers secretly. They were startled at first, unsure who she was. She revealed her identity carefully, showing her markings and recounting her story. She reminded them of the peaceful times before the traitors and corrupt leaders had taken over. "Do you remember hope?" she asked softly. "Do you remember freedom? It is not lost. I am here to help you, but we must work together. We must be smart, brave, and careful." The villagers listened, their eyes wide. They had not seen anyone brave enough to speak against the traitors in years. Mira's words planted a seed of courage. Slowly, they began to trust her, sharing what had happened in their villages, where the traitors had set traps and where the corrupt leaders were weakest. Over the next several days, Mira moved among her people, gathering information and understanding the political situation. She learned about weaknesses in the traitors' control, small groups of rebels hiding in caves, and villagers who still held hope. She also discovered that some leaders were not loyal to the traitors but had been forced to obey. These details gave her an advantage. Mira realized that her strategy needed to combine patience, intelligence, and courage. She could not act rashly, but she could inspire her people to take small steps that would grow into something powerful. She began to form a council of trusted villagers, teaching them tactics to protect themselves, communicate secretly, and plan for larger actions. During these days, Mira also reflected on her bond with Ryan. He had taught her the value of courage, patience, and wisdom. His lessons guided her now, helping her navigate difficult choices. She felt his presence in her mind, reminding her to think carefully and act with purpose. As Mira continued her work, she faced small challenges and dangers. Traitors and corrupt officials occasionally discovered signs of resistance, testing her leadership. Each time, Mira remained calm, using her intelligence to avoid detection and protect her people. She began to see the power of knowledge and planning over brute force. Her efforts were slowly paying off. Small acts of rebellion began to spread. Villagers secretly sabotaged the traitors' equipment, shared messages of hope, and trained themselves in basic defense. Mira taught them not to fight recklessly but to think strategically. One night, Mira looked at the stars from a hidden hill overlooking her village. She thought about the journey that had brought her here. From being a small, frightened girl rescued by a human to becoming a young woman leading her people, her life had changed dramatically. She felt the weight of responsibility, but also the strength of purpose. She knew the coming days would be difficult. The traitors would not surrender easily. The corrupt leaders would resist. But Mira also knew that her people were not powerless. With courage, intelligence, and unity, they could reclaim their freedom. Mira made a promise to herself. She would not fail her people. She would lead them with wisdom and bravery, protecting the innocent and restoring hope. And when the time came, she would face the traitors and corrupt leaders with confidence, showing them that courage, intelligence, and unity could overcome fear and oppression. The call to return had been urgent, but Mira was ready. She had learned, trained, and grown. Now she was prepared to face her past and change the future of her world. As the first light of dawn touched the planet, Mira gathered her council and spoke with determination. "The time has come," she said. "We will restore our home. We will protect our people. And we will show the galaxy that courage and unity can defeat oppression." Her words were met with quiet nods and determined eyes. Mira had ignited a spark of hope that had been lost for too long, and with that spark, a movement began. A movement that would lead her people toward freedom, guided by the young woman who had once been rescued by a brave human. Mira moved quietly through the familiar landscapes of her home region. The mountains, rivers, and forests had not changed much, but the villages told a different story. Buildings were damaged, fields were neglected, and people moved with hesitation, fear shadowing their eyes. Her heart ached, but she focused on her purpose. She had come to lead, to protect, and to restore hope. Her first task was to gain the trust of the villagers. Many were hesitant, unsure if she was truly who she claimed to be. Mira revealed herself carefully, showing her glowing markings and recounting the story of her rescue and training. She spoke not as a child, but as a young woman with wisdom and courage. Her voice carried authority and warmth. "We have endured fear for too long," she told the villagers, "but we are not powerless. Together we can take control of our homes, our fields, and our lives. I will guide you, but we must act wisely and carefully." Her words stirred something long buried. Eyes brightened, heads lifted, and whispers of hope spread through the group. Mira began organizing small meetings with trusted villagers, teaching them strategies to protect themselves and gather information about the corrupt leaders and the traitors. Mira understood that direct confrontation would be dangerous. The slave traders were powerful, armed with advanced technology and ruthless tactics. Instead, she emphasized intelligence, patience, and careful planning. Villagers learned to move quietly, communicate secretly, and prepare for small victories that would build confidence and unity. During these days, Mira discovered pockets of resistance that had remained hidden. Small groups of villagers had been trying to protect themselves, but they lacked leadership and coordination. Mira brought them together, forming a council of trusted members who could plan and act strategically. She encouraged them to share ideas, develop tactics, and support each other. Ryan had prepared Mira well for this. She used her training in observation and strategy to understand the traitors' patterns. She noted when patrols occurred, which leaders were most loyal to the traitors, and where weaknesses could be exploited. Mira taught her people to use the terrain to their advantage, hiding in forests, mountains, and caves when necessary. One day, Mira observed a group of traitors approaching a village. She quickly instructed the villagers to hide and remain silent. Using signals and coded messages, she coordinated their movements. The traitors searched for hours, but the villagers were hidden and quiet. Mira's careful planning had prevented confrontation and protected lives. This success gave the villagers hope. They began to trust Mira more, believing that freedom could be possible. Mira encouraged them to take small actions, like protecting their resources, sharing food, and observing the traitors' movements. Each small victory strengthened their confidence and unity. Mira also focused on rebuilding the village infrastructure. She coordinated repairs to buildings, restored water supplies, and organized food distribution. These practical improvements showed the villagers that leadership was about action, not just words. Mira became a symbol of hope, a figure they could follow and rely upon. One evening, Mira met with the council to discuss long-term plans. "We must think carefully," she said. "Direct attacks are dangerous. We need to prepare, train, and gather allies. We can show the traitors and corrupt leaders that we are united and strong without starting a battle we cannot win." The council nodded. They had seen her wisdom, bravery, and patience. They trusted her judgment and followed her guidance. Slowly, they began to organize training, communication networks, and safe locations for people to gather if danger came. During this time, Mira also helped resolve disputes among the villagers. Years of fear had created tensions, and she reminded them that unity was essential. She spoke with empathy, understanding, and firmness, ensuring that the community remained focused on their common goal: freedom. Mira's presence began to change the atmosphere. Villagers walked with a bit more confidence, children played more freely, and hope returned to homes that had been silent for years. Her influence was felt in every corner of the region. Meanwhile, the slave traders and corrupt leaders began noticing changes. Reports reached them that villagers were moving differently, acting more confidently and avoiding unnecessary confrontations. They suspected a new leader was rising. Mira remained cautious, understanding that discovery could be dangerous. She continued to train her people, improve their skills, and prepare for the moment when direct action would be necessary. One morning, Mira observed a corrupt leader mistreating villagers in the main settlement. The leader demanded resources and threatened punishment for disobedience. Mira knew that direct confrontation could provoke retaliation, but she also recognized an opportunity to inspire her people. She approached the leader calmly, speaking with authority. "This treatment will not continue," she said. "Your control over these people is not absolute. They are capable, strong, and ready to act. Treat them with respect or you will face consequences you cannot imagine." The leader sneered, underestimating Mira's resolve. Mira did not respond with anger. Instead, she returned to the villagers, explaining how courage, strategy, and unity were more powerful than fear. The villagers took her words to heart, learning that leadership could protect them and inspire action without unnecessary violence. Mira also reached out to neighboring villages, connecting with other leaders who had resisted the traders in small ways. She shared her knowledge, trained them in communication and observation, and coordinated small actions that avoided detection. Slowly, a network of allies began to form, creating strength through unity. Through careful planning and consistent guidance, Mira's influence expanded. Villagers reported improvements in safety, morale, and cooperation. They began to prepare for the larger challenge of confronting the slave traders directly. Each small step brought them closer to reclaiming their freedom. Mira also maintained communication with Ryan through secure channels. He provided advice, encouragement, and strategic insights based on his experience in the colonies. Mira valued his wisdom, but she also made decisions independently, knowing that leadership required confidence and careful judgment. As the months passed, Mira observed more signs of change. The traders grew cautious, unsure of the villagers' actions. Corrupt leaders began doubting their power as the people regained courage. Mira recognized that this was the moment to strengthen their position further. She began training the villagers in more advanced strategies, focusing on intelligence gathering, resource management, and nonviolent resistance. They learned to anticipate the traders' moves, protect essential areas, and prepare for moments when they could act decisively. Mira's leadership inspired loyalty and determination. People followed her not because of fear, but because they believed in her wisdom, courage, and fairness. Villagers learned that their actions could influence the outcome of their world. They discovered the power of unity, strategy, and hope. One night, Mira stood on a hill overlooking the main settlement. The lights of the village flickered softly, reflecting the gradual return of life and confidence. She thought about the journey that had brought her here, from a frightened girl rescued by a human to a young woman leading her people with intelligence and courage. Mira knew that the coming days would test their strength. The traders would not remain passive forever. Direct confrontation would eventually be necessary, but the villagers were now ready. They had learned strategy, unity, and the importance of courage guided by wisdom. Mira also thought about the promise she had made to herself and to Ryan. She had come to protect her people, restore hope, and challenge oppression. She had grown stronger, wiser, and ready for the challenges ahead. The village council gathered one last time before taking the next steps. Mira spoke with calm determination. "We have prepared," she said. "We have trained, planned, and built alliances. The time will come when we will face those who oppress us. When that time arrives, we will act with courage, intelligence, and unity. We will restore freedom to our people." The council members nodded, their faces filled with resolve. Mira had given them not only guidance but also confidence and hope. They were ready to follow her leadership, knowing that victory required strategy, patience, and trust in each other. Mira looked at the stars above, feeling the weight of responsibility and the strength of purpose. She had returned not as a frightened girl but as a leader. Her people had learned that courage combined with wisdom could overcome fear and oppression. The first step of their journey to freedom had been taken. Mira knew the path ahead would be difficult, but she was ready. She would face the challenges with bravery, intelligence, and unity, inspiring her people to believe in themselves and their future. Under the starlit sky, Mira's heart was full of determination. She had become the guide her people needed, showing them that hope, courage, and wisdom could change the fate of an entire world. The villagers slept that night with a renewed sense of safety and hope. Mira remained vigilant, planning the next steps to challenge the traders and corrupt leaders. She knew that the ultimate test of her leadership would come, but the foundation had been laid. Her people were ready, and so was she. Mira had returned as a leader, and the dawn of a new era was approaching. Mira stood at the edge of the main village, watching the sun rise over the mountains. The light reflected on her glowing markings, bright and clear, showing the strength and courage that had grown within her. For years, she had prepared for this moment. Now the time had come to face the traitors and corrupt leaders who had oppressed her people. The villagers were ready. Under Mira's leadership, they had trained, organized, and built networks of communication and defense. They moved with confidence, no longer fearful of the oppressors. Mira had taught them strategy, intelligence, and the importance of courage guided by wisdom. Today, those lessons would be put to the test. Mira gathered her council and gave clear instructions. "We will not attack blindly," she said. "We will show the traitors and corrupt leaders that our strength lies not only in force, but in intelligence, unity, and determination. We will act with courage, but we will act carefully." The council members nodded. They had seen Mira's leadership for months and trusted her judgment completely. Every step they took would be calculated, every move planned. They were ready. As Mira approached the center of the settlement, she saw the corrupt leaders waiting, confident in their control. Traitors had gathered, armed with advanced technology and expecting an easy show of power. But Mira did not hesitate. She walked with calm authority, her head held high, her glowing markings bright and strong. "I am Mira," she announced, her voice carrying clearly through the square. "I return not as a child, but as a leader of my people. Your control ends today. We will not be enslaved. We will reclaim our freedom and restore peace to our world." The leaders laughed at first, underestimating her. They had not expected the girl they once captured to become a woman of such strength and wisdom. But Mira did not falter. Her calm confidence in the presence of the villagers behind her were enough to unsettle them. "You have grown bold," one traitor said, stepping forward. "But your courage will not save you. Surrender now or face consequences." Mira shook her head. "We will not surrender. Fear does not govern us anymore. Courage, wisdom, and unity will guide us. If you attempt to harm my people, you will see the power of unity and intelligence combined." At that moment, the villagers revealed the preparations Mira had organized over months. Strategic barricades were in place, escape routes secured, and communication networks ready. Small groups moved silently, ready to support each other without provoking unnecessary conflict. The corrupt leaders realized the situation had changed. Their intimidation could no longer control the villagers. Mira had united them, trained them, and restored their hope. She had transformed fear into strength. Mira continued speaking. "You have used fear and oppression to rule. But we have learned. We have trained. We are ready. You can either leave peacefully or face a world united against you." The traitors hesitated. Reports of resistance, careful planning, and intelligence gathering had reached them already. They were no longer certain of victory. Mira's words confirmed what they had feared. The people were no longer helpless. One of the corrupt leaders stepped forward aggressively, but Mira remained calm. She signaled the villagers to hold their positions. Her presence alone commanded attention and respect. She knew that direct confrontation could escalate, but patience and strategy were powerful tools. Over the next hours, negotiations began. Mira spoke with calm authority, offering a choice. The traitors could leave peacefully, and the corrupt leaders could step down in exchange for fair treatment. The villagers remained ready, demonstrating their unity and strength without violence. The traitors and leaders realized they had no advantage. Their weapons and technology could not match the careful preparation, intelligence, and courage of Mira's people. Slowly they agreed to leave, understanding that continued oppression was impossible against such organization and determination. Mira's strategy had succeeded. Her people had reclaimed their freedom without unnecessary bloodshed. Villagers cheered, hugging each other, their eyes bright with hope and relief. Mira watched, her heart full. She had kept her promise, her people were safe, and hope had returned. The council gathered to discuss the next steps. Mira spoke with clarity. "We must restore our villages, rebuild our fields, and ensure the safety of every person. Our freedom is hard-won, but it must be protected. We will create a world where intelligence, courage, and unity guide our actions." The villagers worked tirelessly. Mira led efforts to repair homes, restore farmland, and establish systems for education, trade, and communication. She taught her people how to govern wisely, emphasizing fairness, respect, and cooperation. Under her guidance, the villages flourished. News of Mira's leadership spread across the region. Neighboring communities who had suffered under the trader's influence reached out, seeking guidance and alliances. Mira welcomed them, sharing her knowledge, strategies, and vision for a free and united world. One day, Ryan arrived. He had traveled secretly to witness Mira's success. When he saw her leading her people with wisdom, courage, and compassion, he felt a deep sense of pride. Mira approached him, bowing respectfully. "Ryan," she said softly, "you saved my life when I was a child. You gave me the chance to grow, to learn, and to lead. Everything I have done is because of you." Ryan smiled, his eyes shining with emotion. "Mira, you have done this yourself. I only guided you. You have become extraordinary. Your people are fortunate to have you as their leader." Mira returned his smile, grateful but focused on her mission. She had become more than a leader. She had become a symbol of hope, courage, and unity for her people. In the following weeks, Mira was formally recognized by her people as their queen. The ceremony was simple but meaningful. Villagers gathered, children danced, and elders spoke of their gratitude. Mira accepted her role with humility and determination. She vowed to govern wisely, protect her people, and ensure that freedom and justice would remain the foundation of her world. As queen, Mira continued to emphasize education, strategy, and preparation. She taught her people how to prevent oppression, how to work together, and how to face challenges with courage and intelligence. The legacy of the slave traders' cruelty would not be repeated. Mira also strengthened alliances with other colonies and alien communities. She shared knowledge, technology, and strategies for peaceful defense. Her leadership inspired confidence and cooperation across the galaxy. Through her actions, Mira showed that courage and intelligence could overcome fear and oppression. Her people thrived, villages grew stronger, and communities learned to govern themselves with fairness and wisdom. The queen they once feared would have been a small girl had grown into a leader capable of changing the fate of her world. One evening, Mira stood on a hill overlooking her kingdom. The wind carried the sense of restored fields and vibrant life. The sun set, casting warm colors across the villages. Mira's heart was full. Her people were free, safe, and hopeful. She thought about Ryan, her teacher and savior, who had given her the chance to grow into the leader she had become. She thought about her journey from a frightened girl to a young queen who had restored hope to an entire world. Her life had been shaped by courage, intelligence, and unity, and now she could guide others to live by the same values. Mira's people celebrated their freedom with joy, but she remained vigilant. She knew that challenges could return, but her kingdom was stronger than ever. Her leadership, grounded in wisdom, courage, and fairness, would protect them. From that night onward, Mira ruled with kindness, intelligence, and strength. Her people flourished, and her story spread as an inspiration across the galaxy. They spoke of the girl who had been saved by a human, trained, and returned as a queen to lead her people to freedom. The bond between Mira and Ryan remained strong, a reminder that one act of bravery could change the destiny of a life, a people, and even a world. Mira had honored that act with wisdom, courage, and determination. And under her guidance, her kingdom became a shining example of what could be achieved when courage, intelligence, and unity guided every action. Mira had become a queen, but more importantly, she had become the protector, guide, and hope for her people. Her journey had begun with rescue and trust, and it had ended with triumph and freedom. The galaxy would remember her story as one of courage, leadership, and the enduring power of kindness and intelligence. The world of Mira's people was free once more, stronger than ever, and ready to face the future with hope, wisdom, and courage.